I'm Paige. Welcome back to my kitchen. You're watching the next episode of my new series, Doughin It with Paigey. We will be baking and comparing the second and third recipes out of this book, Bread Baking for Beginners by Bonnie Ohara. We will be making an 8-hour fermentation bread and a 12-hour fermentation bread. I wanted to experiment baking both breads at the same time so that we could compare quality and flavor. The only differences between these two loaves is the amount of yeast used and the different rising times. The longer the fermentation time, the better quality, taste, and texture you're going to have in your loaf of bread. Now, in order for me to bake these at the same time, I had to go ahead and prepare these last night. Our goal was to start shooting at 8 a.m. and we are right on schedule. I prepared our 12-hour loaf right around 8 p.m. and the other right around midnight. One has been sitting for 8 hours, the other for 12. I'm gonna show you guys what we did last night to prepare for this bake. As you can see, I went ahead and labeled each bowl so that we'll know which one is which. It's a little before 8 p.m., so I'm gonna go ahead and get my dough started for our 12-hour fermentation bread. As always, we'll weigh out our ingredients before we start, and tonight our water temperature needs to be at 72 degrees. We'll start by combining our water and yeast and mixing until it's nice and bubbly. We'll add the flour on top of the water and the salt on top of the flour. We're gonna jump right in and start mixing. And as always, we wanna make sure that we have a really good mix on this, and we mix until we get a really good stretch out of the dough. Once our dough is mixed well and has a good stretch on it, we're gonna let it sit to allow the flour to absorb some of that water. All right, it's been about 20 minutes. Now we're gonna go around the dough and start stretching and folding it to meet the other side. We've gone around the dough about 2 times, stretching and folding it to meet the other side. Now that our dough has been folded and is tightened up, we're gonna go ahead and cover this with a floured kitchen towel, and we will check on this one in 12 hours. All right, so our 12-hour bread is hanging out right behind me. I'm gonna go ahead and start preparing the 8-hour bread using the exact same method. Now we're going to let our breads rise and ferment overnight. We'll come back and check them in the morning and we'll be ready to bake. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Right here we have our 12-hour fermentation dough, and right here we have our 8-hour fermentation dough. They both look great. They both have a lot of air bubbles, which is a really good sign. And I would say that the 8-hour dough looks like it has some bigger air bubbles, while this one has got some smaller ones. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these out onto a floured countertop, and we're going to get them shaped. All right, we are going to start with our 12-hour fermentation dough, and I'm going to go ahead and flour my countertops pretty well here. We're gonna turn this out of the bowl, and I want the side that is in contact with the bowl now up facing me. We are going to give our dough a set of letter folds. I'm going to start from the top and fold this down to meet the middle. Come in from the bottom and do the same method. Same from this side and from this side. Now, if your dough seems very relaxed, which this still does, you can go ahead and give it another set of letter folds. I'm going to drop this into a floured proofing basket seam side down. It's going to hang out there for about an hour to an hour and a half. We're now going to do the same exact method with the 8-hour dough. Our dough has been proofing for about an hour and a half. I let it set for about an hour and it wasn't ready. The way I found that out was if you poke it and it leaves an indent, it is ready to go. If it springs back up, it needs more time. And these needed a little bit more time today. Well, now that these are done proofing, we are going to go ahead and put these into the oven. We have had our Dutch oven preheating inside the oven at 475. We're going to go ahead and take those Dutch ovens out and put the dough inside. We are putting our 12-hour bread in the red Dutch oven and the 8-hour bread in the black Dutch oven. All right, our bread has been in the oven for about 25 minutes. I'm going to take them out, take the cover off, and put them back in for about 20 minutes so that they can develop a nice crust. Here is what our bread looks like after it has been cooking with the lid on for about 25 minutes. And here is what our bread looks like after we've removed the lid and cooked it for about 20 more minutes. All right, I am so excited, or should I say I am dough excited to cut into these 2 loaves of bread to see what the results are. We're gonna start off by cutting into the 12-hour fermentation bread. My proofing basket left a really cool design on this with the flour, which I really like. It also has a really good brown crust on it. And you can see here, this is where our folds were. And when it gets into the oven, it cracks open and allows the loaf of bread to open up and spring. So we're gonna cut into this and check out what the inside looks like. You can see right here, we have a lot of large holes in the inside of the bread, which is actually called the crumb. And this is a really good sign. I'm always looking for a really airy loaf of bread. So this looks really nice. And now I'm gonna cut into the 8-hour bread to see what the differences are. This one has kind of a funny shape to it because of the parchment paper, the way that's set into the Dutch oven, but I guarantee you this is going to be a delicious loaf. I can tell just by looking at it. All right, this one looks amazing on the inside as well. A lot more holes than expected, which is great. I can't wait to make some sandwiches out of this. I guarantee you both of these loaves will be gone by the end of the day. I'm going to go ahead and cut off a couple of slices from each loaf and do a taste test. So I just did a taste test on the 8-hour loaf and the 12-hour loaf, and I have to say the taste is pretty much the same. I can tell a little bit of a difference in the 12-hour fermentation bread. It just has a more complex flavor than the 8-hour bread, but not by much. I don't think that the average Joe would be able to tell the difference. For instance, my husband said they taste exactly the same. I would say the benefits of making the 8 and 12-hour fermentation breads really depends on your schedule. They're both great if you are going to be gone for a long period of time. Let's say you're looking to bake bread after you get home from working a long work day. You could prepare this in the morning, let it sit while you're at work, and then come home and just basically shape it and get it ready to throw into the oven. The 12-hour fermentation bread would probably be great if you wanted to cook on the weekend. So let's say you want to start a bread on Saturday night and then cook the next day at some point. Overall, both breads are delicious, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed with either one. It really just depends on your schedule and what works best for you. I would say the prep time is a lot easier because you're doing it the night before. You're not sitting around waiting for that 1 to 2 hour rise time, which really cuts down your wait time when you're making bread. Overall, I don't think you or your family are going to be disappointed with either of these loaves. Even my dog loves it. This is Duchess. She's bread obsessed, and we're just gonna let her do a little taste test. She approves. So there you have it. Our bread is Paige approved and dog approved. Be sure to tune in next week. We're actually going to be making the 4th recipe in this book, which is a panned loaf, which gives us the opportunity to use a loaf pan for the very first time. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you guys next week, and thanks again for watching Doughin It with Paigey.